In the biting cold of winter, history's most brutal battles are not just fought against men, but against nature itself. Imagine a world where the air is so frigid it burns your lungs, where the snow isn't a blanket of white but a shroud, and where the greatest enemy isn't the soldier across the field but the relentless, unforgiving cold. This is the world of winter warfare, a theater of conflict where forgotten heroes performed impossible acts of courage. Let's journey back to the winter of 1939. The Soviet Union, a titan of military might, invades the small nation of Finland. On paper, it was a foregone conclusion. The Red Army outnumbered the Finns 3-1 in soldiers, 30-1 in aircraft, and a staggering 100-1 in tanks. But the Finns had a secret weapon. A Finnish word for a unique blend of courage, resilience, and sheer stubbornness. And they had General Winter on their side. While the world expected a swift Soviet victory, the Finns, many of them just farmers and lumberjacks on skis, turned the frozen forests into a death trap. Dressed in white camouflage, they moved like ghosts through the deep snow, striking with terrifying speed and precision before melting back into the landscape. They called this tactic Mari, which means a bundle of firewood, where they would encircle and chop up entire Soviet divisions piece by piece. The Soviets, unprepared for the extreme conditions, were sitting ducks. Their olive-green uniforms stood out against the snow. Their vehicles, not winterized, froze solid. Their supply lines stretched 4 miles, becoming easy targets for Finnish ski patrols. Soldiers froze to death in their tents. Their tanks became useless steel coffins, and morale plummeted. The Finns, on the other hand, lived off the land. They knew how to survive, how to fight, and how to use the cold as their ally. They were phantom soldiers. Legends whispered on the freezing wind. One name echoed with particular dread in the Soviet ranks. Simo He, known as the White Death. This unassuming farmer became the deadliest sniper in history, with over 500 confirmed kills, all achieved in less than 100 days, using a standard-issue rifle with just iron sights. He preferred them over scopes because telescopic sights would fog up in the cold and force him to raise his head higher, making him a bigger target. He would pack snow in front of his position to conceal the muzzle blast, and even keep snow in his mouth to prevent his breath from giving away his position in the frigid air. He was the embodiment of Finnish resistance, silent, deadly, and perfectly adapted to his environment. The winter war is a stark reminder that in warfare, technology and numbers aren't everything. Courage, ingenuity, and an intimate understanding of the battlefield can level the playing field in the most astonishing ways. The Finns ultimately had 2-seed territory, but they preserved their independence and inflicted such catastrophic losses on the Red Army that it sent shockwaves through the world. They showed that a small nation, with enough heart, could stand up to a giant. But Finland was not the only place where winter wrote its own bloody chapter in the annals of war. Let's shift our focus to the Eastern Front of World War II, during the brutal Battle of In 1942, the German Sixth Army, the pride of the Wehrmacht, found itself encircled in the ruins of the city as the infamous Russian winter closed in. Hitler, in his unyielding arrogance, forbade any attempt at a breakout. Hold at all costs was the command. What followed was a slow, agonizing descent into a frozen hell. Temperatures dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius. The German soldiers, still in their summer uniforms, were completely unprepared. Frostbite claimed more limbs than bullets. Starvation became rampant. Rations dwindled to a few slices of bread made from sawdust. Men resorted to eating horses, then dogs, then rats. The cold was a physical presence, a constant, gnawing enemy that seeped into their bones and their minds. Desperate airlifts were attempted, but the Luftwaffe could only deliver a fraction of the needed supplies. Planes would drop canisters of food that would freeze solid before they even hit the ground. For the soldiers trapped inside the Kessel, or cauldron, every day was a battle for survival against an enemy they couldn't shoot. They huddled together in bombed-out basements for warmth, their bodies racked with dysentery and typhus. Their spirits broken, yet, even in this abyss of despair, there were acts of incredible heroism and humanity. Medics performed surgeries with frozen fingers and no anesthesia. Soldiers shared their last crumbs of bread with a fallen comrade. They fogged, unfueled by a primal instinct to survive, holding out for a rescue that would never come. When the Sixth Army finally surrendered in February 1943, of the nearly 300,000 men who had been encircled, only 91,000 were left alive, and of those, only about 5,000 would ever see their homeland again. Stalingrad wasn't just a military defeat for Germany. It was a psychological turning point, a testament to the fact that even the most powerful army can be broken by the raw, untamable power of winter. Further north, another epic struggle against the cold was unfolding. The siege of Leningrad. For 872 days, the city was cut off from the rest of the world by German and Finnish forces. This wasn't a battle of soldiers in trenches, but of an entire civilian population fighting for its very existence against starvation and the cold. The winter of 1941-42 was one of the coldest on record. With no fuel, there was no heat. Pipes froze and burst. Electricity failed. The city plunged into a dark, frozen silence, broken only by the sound of artillery and the endless wail of air raid sirens. The only lifeline was the Road of Life, a perilous ice road built across the frozen lake. Under constant bombardment, brave truck drivers raced across the cracking ice to deliver meager supplies of food. Many trucks and their drivers disappeared into the icy water. Inside the city, the daily bread ration dropped to just 125 grams, a small slice that was mostly clay and sawdust. People boiled leather belts and wallpaper glue to make soup. The city's libraries were filled with people not to read, but simply to be together, to stave off the gnawing loneliness and despair. Yet, in the midst of this unimaginable suffering, the human spirit endured. Theaters and concert halls remained open. On August 9, 1942, in a starved and freezing city, the Leningrad Radio Orchestra performed Shostakovich's Leningrad Symphony. The performance was broadcast through loudspeakers all over the city, a powerful act of defiance, a testament that even in the darkest of times, art and beauty could not be extinguished. Over 1 million civilians perished during the siege, most from cold and starvation, but the city never fell. The story of Leningrad is not just one of suffering, it is a profound saga of human resilience, a city that refused to die. These stories from the cold are more than just historical accounts. They are dark, chilling testaments to the extremes of human endurance. They reveal a different kind of heroism, one that isn't always found in the heat of a charge, but in the quiet, desperate struggle to survive one more frozen night. It's the courage of the Finnish skier, the despair of the German soldier, and the unbreakable will of the citizen of Leningrad. They remind us that sometimes the greatest battles are not fought on a map, but within the human heart, against an enemy as old and as powerful as winter itself. Their sacrifices, often overlooked and forgotten in the grand narrative of war, deserve to be remembered. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the cold of history compelling, please consider subscribing for more stories from the shadows.